All right, what's going on, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back with another fight breakdown. This weekend, on the undercard of Crawford and Canelo, we have this monster fight that I think is probably going to end up being fight of the night, and it's probably going to be its potential to be fight of the year. All right, this the matchup between Lester Martinez and Christian Mbilli is gonna be a war. Like this is gonna be a really good fight. All right. We got two guys here that are roughly around the same age. They both can punch. They both can bang. They're both at 168. This is a phenomenal matchup, and this is a fight that you guys would not leave below. You guys kept leaving comments for the last couple of weeks on making this video here, making this breakdown. And I'm like, yo, I have no time between work, between making videos on Crawford and Canelo, and making doing film study for Inway and MJ. It was just like, damn, I really had to cram some time in putting into this video, but I wanted to do it because it's going to be a really good fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight, at least the way I'm predicting it to be. It's definitely a good matchup stylistically, and I think that I don't know if this is like the co-main event or not. I don't know what order the card is, but if this fight, I'm hoping that they place this fight right before Crawford and Canelo, because like I said, in previous fight cards, and including the Riyadh season cards, we got to get fights that's gonna get the crowd and people entertained before the main event. Because when we have these dead dry ass fights right before the main event, it kills the energy in the room. Even if I'm not there, I can see the crowd being bored, and we don't really want that. I hope this is the co-main event. I hope this is the last fight. This is a WBC interim title shot, so whoever wins this will be lined up to face the winner of Canelo and Crawford. All right. Now, these two guys, Christian Mbilli, I think he's been in there a little tougher so far. He's been boxing a couple years longer as a pro. Both of these guys undefeated. Mbilli has 29 wins with 24 knockouts, no losses, no draws. He's 30 years old. He's from France. And you got Lester Martinez, who's from Guatemala. He is 19 wins with 16 knockouts, no losses, no draws. And he's 28. Oh, he's 29 years old. Okay. He's a little taller, a little bit more rangier, but just about everybody. Oh, I don't think he's rangier. I think he's around the same reach. But everybody's taller than Christian. Christian is a guy that's shorter, but he likes to get low. He has some similarities to Mike Tyson style. Comes in with big, long, hooks. Likes to get up underneath you. But he's improved on that a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this video here. All right. But he has a very aggressive style, which Lester Martinez, who is a boxer puncher, he's not like a complete brawler like Christian Mbilli is. But Lester is a guy that likes to bang too. He likes to firefight. He's pretty explosive himself. Okay. As far as the odds, they're really even or close to being even. I think Christian is a slight favorite to win, as he probably should be, because he is coming off of a loss. Coming off a big knockout win against Selecki, where he stopped him in the very first round. So with that kind of momentum, it only makes sense. He has the experience, he has the knockout power. He's coming off a first round knockout, and it would probably make sense for him to be the favorite, especially because Lester is a little bit less known. All right. But this is a good fight. Christian Mbilli has been a guy that I've been following for some time. Okay. They do have a common opponent in Carlos Gongora. We'll speak more about him in a little bit, but Christian Mbilli again has that tough brawler type style, that we've seen with other fighters, but he has a lot of ability. He has he has a lot of power, and a lot of speed, very explosive, very violent puncher, so that's why I compared him to Mike Tyson a little bit, because of how explosive he is and how big of a punch he has. Okay, but what I will say is that I think in the last couple of fights that I've seen him in, and that's against Selecki, that's against Deverenchenko. Okay, I think he's been improving with each fight. Going back and watching his fight against Carlos Gongora, who they both fought 1 year apart. Christian fought him first back in 2023. He went to 10 rounds with Gongora. Gongora was able to hurt him a few times in that fight, mainly with the uppercut. Christian is a guy that gets low, but sometimes he comes in with his head down. He likes to move. And if you can time the uppercut on his way in, he kind of leans forward and puts his face right into an uppercut. That's one of his biggest flaws. But since that fight, I've seen him do better from the outside. I've seen him setting up his right hands from far out, his overhand rights, by leading with the jab first and then stepping in and winging that powerful baseball pitch like right hand. Instead of just coming in and then just throwing a lot of punches. He's a high volume guy, but not many setups. But his last couple of fights, he seems to be improving with that. I also think he's been flawed with his foot positioning, especially in the Carlos Gongora fight. Maybe it's because he was fighting a southpaw, where he needed to focus on leading, having his lead foot on the outside of Carlos Gongora's foot, which he didn't do a good job there. And Carlos Gongora with his, shorter counters and stuff, and the better framing on the inside, the better defense on the inside, was able to, was able, his punches was just tighter, even though he was taller and longer, you know what I mean? And he was able to work in some ways and have those advantages over Christian Mbilli in that fight. But I think Mbilli's improving. I think with every fight, especially setting up the power shots instead of just wasting so many of them. And I think that's good because you don't want to burn yourself out. I think I did see him burn himself out a little bit in the Deverenchenko fight. Even though he was old as hell, he was still able to, Deverenchenko is that guy that's going to always make everybody looks bad against him. Even though he's much older, everyone looks bad against him. You know what I mean? And no one's been able to really stop him. He's been down in fights, but if you look at between Danny Jacobs, Triple G, Jamal Charlo, Jaime Munguia, and even Christian Mbilli, all of these guys were able to land bombs. I mean, even in the Deverenchenko fight with Mbilli, the guy tore his bicep and still kept fighting, So, but I think he's improving with his style. I think what he needs to work on is his foot placement. I think he definitely needs to. I know he likes to overwhelm his opponents, but I think he needs to, use his lead hand more and just set up the punches better. You know what I mean? Jab a little bit more, feint a little bit more. Also, probe a little bit more, like do other things where you're not just throwing power to every single punch, because I've seen his fights and what I see is a lot of wasted punches, a lot of wasted energy. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the key things for him. When it comes to Lester Martinez, I think he's definitely the more accurate puncher between the two. He's a guy that also has really good cardio. But when I look at the Gongora fight with him, again, he's boxing, he's on his back foot, he's luring Gongora in. These are things that Christian Mbilli doesn't do. He's a front foot heavy kind of guy where Lester can do both. Lester can just fight off the ropes, bounce off the ropes and set traps, and counters and stuff. And he's also a very good counter puncher too. He goes to the body pretty well. He has a good jab. He throws good combinations. Like, I think he puts his punches together better than Mbilli. Even though he's a power puncher as well, I don't think he's as violent of a puncher as Mbilli. And Mbilli throws his whole body into his punches, where Martinez is like a lot more sharper, shorter, just crisper. You know what I mean? So he's definitely the better boxer in my opinion. I think he has the better IQ. I just think when it comes to experience, outside of Carlos Gongora, there's no one there on that resume there that really stand. There's no names there that's gonna stand out. You know what I mean? Except what's his face? Who'd he fight in his very first fight? Ricardo Mayorga. He fought Mayorga. He retired Mayorga. the fact that this guy even fought Ricardo Mayorga is crazy because Mayorga is like, he's from like the early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy I used to watch as a kid, watching him on TV fight Mosley and Oscar and all those guys, you know, me Vernon Forrest and stuff like that. It's a kid guy I used to watch when I was a kid. So um so Lester doesn't really have the names there, and I think being that he does have a good camp because he's in camp with Crawford and Bo Mack, I'm sure he's gonna learn a lot through them. But when it comes to boxing between the two, he's definitely, you know, he's a puncher as well. He's you know, I don't know if he's as big of a puncher, but he's a puncher as well. But he can box a lot better, you know, and I can see him countering and using that uppercut and doing some of the things. And against Gongora, who is a solid boxer, you know, I mean, he's getting older now. He's getting in his mid-30s, so you know, one fought the other 1 year after. You know, Christian fought him. If we were basing this fight off the common opponent, the name that stood out with Lester, right? I would say that if we were coming off that fight, I think Lester looked better. You know, Lester to me won probably almost all of the rounds, maybe losing just one where Mbilli got hurt a few times, you know, even though he hurt Gongora, you know, Gongora was able to hurt him a few times and really, really like expose some of his defensive flaws, you know, especially with the foot positioning and stuff like that. So again, I just think that skill set definitely goes to Martinez. I also think that Mbilli is also learning with each fight. And I think he has the better resume too and the more experience. So when it comes to prediction, and I'm not going to hold you guys too long because I have to get back to making more content with Crawford and Bud. When it comes to these two guys, I'm going to put my money on Lester Martinez. I'm going to put some money on the money line, straight money line. I'm leaning towards this fight to go the distance. Okay, I'm leaning towards the fight to go the distance. I'm not expecting a knockout. A knockout could happen either side. But I'm leaning towards the decision win for Lester Martinez. You know, I think with his counters and his traps and his power, I think he can try to slow the pace down. You know, and Billy is a very front foot heavy guy. He's a very aggressive fighter. I think once Billy feels his power and feels a couple of those counters that he doesn't see coming, it might make him, you know, he's going to still come forward, but I think he may have to, I think he's going to go into this fight wanting to box, all right, and throw bombs, but behind a jab. I think, you know, I'm expecting Lester to do the better work boxing. And, you know, I think he's just going to be, I just think he's going to be better. You know, again, both guys got power. The likelihood of a knockout happening is very likely. But I think this is going to be one of those ones that's going to end up just being a war. I think both guys are going to get tired at certain points. And I think it's just going to be a good scrap all the way through. But I'm leaning towards Lester Martinez. Also, I'm also going to put a little bit of money on the draw. Okay. I think if we're going to get a draw this weekend, I'm seeing it in this fight here. All right. So I'm just going to cover myself and put a little draw. And I'm going to cover myself by throwing money on Lester in the money line, just in case there is a knockout. You know, so instead of betting strictly on decision or knockout, throwing it on the money line, I got Lester getting in. I think it's a plus 150 right now. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the draw. But I don't think, I do believe this is a 50-50 fight. I think Lester is a better boxer and he has the power. I think Mbilli is a more dangerous fighter with more experience. He could have the stamina to overwhelm Lester, but Lester has looked like he's had good cardio as well. I'm going to go with Lester though. All right. I think he's just a little bit more skilled with the power. All right. So that's my prediction. I will see you guys Saturday and look out for more content when it comes to Canelo and Crawford. Also, Again, I have a playlist for Canelo and Crawford. I'm going to add this video to that playlist as well since it's on the same card. And I got more videos on Canelo and Crawford. We're going to get down to the wire. We're going to talk the pros and cons for both fighters. And then I'm going to give you my final prediction. I'm probably going to give it to you Friday right after the weigh-in because I want to see the weigh-in as well. All right. Anyway, we'll talk more about that. See you guys soon. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the thumbs up. Share the video. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.